Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it is the 3rd day of December 2024. And welcome to our show today. First off, we're starting with John Tater with Lawful Defense and all things constitutional. And then at 10 o'clock, I have a gentleman named, he was a former sheriff named Mike Ingersoll on, which should be pretty interesting to hear what's happening and what's happening around him. I'm going to bring John on right now. Hey, John, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's like, I don't know about you, but everybody I know is politicked out right now.
I'm just getting started.
That's the separation of between the men and the boys, I'm pretty sure, because, it's like I really think that we are in the middle of such an unprecedented time that we don't know what's going to happen between now and the 20th of January. Not at all. And there's so few things that are making sense to me that I'm kind of like looking behind the scenes going, there's strategy there. So that whatever is happening, it's not just like right out there and in your face. There's a strategy happening behind everything we're seeing. And I think we need to keep that in mind, that they're not going to come out and say, well, boys and girls, this is what we're doing today, and tell all the bad guys exactly what's going on too. I think there's a little more nuance to it, and kind of having a good time trying to figure it out. But realize that when people are trying to figure things out, most of it is putting themselves in what they want to see in it. It's not fact. It's not law. It's personal. It's personal bias that we're seeing on what people are trying to figure out or project on it. And I think that is so important to realize as we're watching all the pundits and everybody else trying to spin, oh, did you see who Trump appointed for this or that or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I'm kind of like looking at it, but I'm not looking at it just to take it all in. So there you go.
Okay.
What say you?
Well, did we ever know what was going on between December or between November and January with any of the other presidents?
No, that's the point. It's like we've never known what's gone on anytime, any place, anywhere.
Nothing's any different.
No. So actually, I'm going to let you know this is that I'm going to be adding more to Brandenburg News Network. And one of the things I want to do is give, say, like you and Christina, Melissa, Chris, and Vicky, and people who've been really faithful on here, probably, Karen has one and such, but like your own avatar to promote you. So I need a really good picture, by the way. I haven't talked to you about this. But good morning, John. I'm just volunteering you. You got something to do here.
I'm supposed to provide a picture for the Magnificent Republic, too, which I have been neglecting. It's not that I'm neglecting, it's just that I'm busy.
Yeah.
And you got to do the right thing. So I'll work on that.
Yeah, I need some sort of a photo. I could scam the one off of the one that you took on Veterans Day with Susie.
Well, that's a good picture, but
that's a good picture. It really is. So there. So I've got all these things going on in my little pea brain all the time, trying to figure things out. What's your thought on the Hunter Biden pardon?
Well, there's a couple of positive things about that. Number one, he's proven and shown that he's a liar, because nobody's above the law, but except Hunter Biden is above the law. So that's number one. Number two, when Hunter Biden is pardoned, he cannot use the Fifth Amendment to plead that he cannot say something because it may bear witness against himself, because he's already been pardoned. So he loses the Fifth Amendment. So that may not be a bad thing.
Then I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, when he's brought in front of Congress and he's told to testify, or whoever he's brought in front of, the courts, he won't be able to plead the Fifth. So that's another good thing, because once you get that Fifth taken away from you, and you have to either tell the truth or lie, create perjury and go to jail for perjury, or lie and go to jail for lying for perjury, That's not a good thing either. I mean, he either has to tell the truth, in which case he hangs himself and his family, or tell a lie, in which case he hangs himself. So that's not a bad situation.
What say you? You think there's a possibility of him being Arkancided?
I don't know.
It's a crime family. They're
yeah, they do that kind of stuff. He's
sure
not
do.
under any pressure right now to do anything except sit back and shut up, and we'll see what happens. And who's going to bring them forward?
Yeah.
Whether the new DOJ under what's his face, the guy that wrote the book, what's his name? I think I can't, it's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, whether he's brought forward by one of the new Trump people and asked to testify, and it may not be directly at him. He may have to testify about, his laptop and so on and so forth. So it could get to be sticky. And could he be Arkansas? You never know.
Well, I'm just kind of wondering too, and God forbid should anybody be hurt, and through this whole process of trying to duck and hide what they've done, no matter who they are. I mean, that's, it's like, God forbid should there be any harm to anybody. I pray for everyone's safety, and I also pray for the bad guys to turn around, and I also pray for the truth to come out and justice to be served. We have to go in that direction.
What about the rest of his family? Rest of Biden's family? What about his brother?
I'm sure there's some crap going on there.
Is he going to blanket all of them and give them all immunity? And can he do that? Can you pardon someone that hasn't been convicted of a crime?
I don't.
The answer is really no.
Yeah.
Although they did pardon Nixon and he was not really convicted, but the criminal evidence was there. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Not being convicted and not going to a court of law and not having his due process. We don't know how that process worked out. But what about the J6ers? Is he pardoning the J6ers, who are obviously innocent in everything?
Doesn't look like it.
In jail. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on here that Biden is sticking his neck way, way out there, walking out on that very thin limb.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Why right now? Why not wait until he's out of office? Maybe he's going to be out of office real quick.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Replace him. We don't know. We don't know the behind the scenes what's going on with the Democrats. We have no idea what they're planning, but things are happening. Things are moving. There are people leaving the country. This is good. This is good.
Well, it is kind of good because here's the thing. So they can leave the country and they can go anywhere they want. But you know what? You get somebody in there that's an effective president and says, okay, we're going to extradite him. The country says no. Okay, guess what? You just got slapped with tariffs. There is, it doesn't matter. Every country in the world trades with the United States of America.
That's right.
These people are so screwed. They have no idea how screwed they are.
That's right. That's right. They really think they're going to be able to hide under a rock somewhere and nobody's going to find them.
Yeah, like what was it, Osama bin Laden? That was the most ridiculous thing you could ever see. I mean, they're chasing him here, they're chasing him there, and all of a sudden, we're just going to dump his body in the sea because we made a mistake. This is like, are you? I am so sure.
Well, we'll have to see how Biden plays out, but how Hunter plays out. But I think it's not going to be in their benefit nor Hunter's. I still think. Besides, why didn't Hunter get picked up for treason?
Seriously.
Because that's a crime that he hasn't been charged with yet.
Well, they've all done that like crazy. They don't even want to talk about that. You bring treason up at any level, and they're just like, I've done that at the local level, and just right in their faces, this treason. And they get a little nervous. They get a little jumpy when you bring that up. Don't really want to talk about that because they know what that ends up in, and that short drop, sudden stop, but kind of interesting. So the next thing I want to ask you about was the executive orders. I'm really curious about, because I think that there's something about the executive orders which President Trump really used quite well in certain ways, but I have some questions about executive orders and how many departments were created by originally executive orders.
Well, many of them were created by acts, such as the DOJ was created by an act, still isn't constitutional, and according to Norton versus Shelby County, does not exist because it has no constitutional authority to exist. Same with the CIA and the FBI and all the alphabet agencies that were created outside the Constitution. There's a ton of them. They're all fake. They do not exist.
So can they be abolished by an executive order? Can an act be abolished by an executive order?
They can be abolished by a president saying you don't exist anymore. Norton versus Shelby County. You don't exist. You never did exist. Norton makes it very clear. If you go through Norton and read Norton, Norton makes it very clear that if a department has no constitutional authority, it's not based in Constitution. It's an unconstitutional act. And you know that famous 3-line phrase in there. It's an unconstitutional act is not a law.
Okay.
Create no office. And so with that, if it's not in the Constitution, it doesn't exist. So executive order, you can call it what you want. President can just fire him. Say, hey, this office is closed.
Just close it.
Kash Patel is the guy I'm thinking of when I was talking about the DOJ or about the FBI, rather. He's now maybe director of the FBI, maybe. At least he's been appointed by Trump. And he'll clean house. He knows where a lot of the bodies are buried. So with him in charge of the FBI, he can pare down, clean up. Now, what does the executive order, what's the purpose of the executive order? That's for the
internal processes.
That's right. The president to operate within his own departments, the executive branch. Does that executive order affect people, you and me?
No.
No, never did, never has. Excuse me. Whitmer, when she issued her executive orders to close businesses and to wear masks and to stand 6 feet apart and all the other crap that she was telling us to do by her executive order over some sort of an emergency. Remember, the Constitution is never suspended. That's Downs versus Bidwell. She has no authority to do any of that under the Constitution, under both the federal and the state, but she did it anyway. The problem is that we, the people, don't know that. We, the people, listen and we ratify the behavior of these public functionaries because we think somehow that they're a leader because they were elected by a bunch of people. Most of the public functionaries that exist in office are not very bright.
That is an understatement.
Yeah, I'm being nice.
You're being real nice. That is a complete and utter understatement.
They have not read the Constitution, nor do they understand the Constitution, and they're expected to abide by the Constitution by their oath of office. This is a problem that we face. They have no formal training in operating under a Republican form of government. They only have the knowledge or the wherewithal to function in their department, whatever their department is. But they don't know the parameters of their legal authority, and I say it again, authority by which they are in that position. And therefore they violate it on a daily basis. But we, the people, should know that. We, the people, should know what our rights are. And I used to tell my kids when I was teaching school back in years ago that if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. And because most of the people that were going through, most of the kids that were going through government at that time in American history were, more interested in what was going on with their beepers and their because we were in beeper time back then, not in telephone time. Their beepers and their girlfriends and boyfriends and what they're going to do after school. And very few of them paid any attention to what was going on in the classroom. Not all, because I have some students of the past that I have ran into, and they said, yeah, we really gained some knowledge in your class from what we were going through, but not everybody. And that's the problem. We are not taught from day one our responsibilities in living in a republic. And therefore we do everything. We play the game with the attorneys, get yourself an attorney, have yourself an attorney on staff, have a doctor on staff. So, if you get sick, you got a doctor that you can go to, your own family physician and your own dentist and all your professionals. You got to line yourself up with the professionals. But you don't have to learn anything. You don't have to know what your health is all about. You don't have to know how to take care of your health. You don't have to know that by eating McDonald's every day, you're going to be sick. You're going to be overweight. And they're not the only company I'm picking on, but they're one of them. There are many companies.
Fast food.
Yeah, fast foods, boxed foods in the grocery stores, and so on and so forth. I've had relatives even tell me I don't buy organic because it's too expensive. Well, if you don't buy organic, then you get some sort of, and I know organic is not the best thing in the world, but it's better than the average box store chemical factory that they're trying to push on us. So you got to do the best you can, but you got to know these things. Yeah, spend a few more dollars here and a few more dollars there. Save yourself nightmares later on in life.
And growing your own food, that's another really good option. Whether you live in an apartment or small space, you can do microgreens. There's all kinds of things that you can do to get your food, your nutrition content up. But that it takes, and the argument is, is because we do have a farm. It's like, well, isn't that a lot of work? You don't have. How many times I hear that every time I talk about that sounds like a lot of work. Well, not any more work than anything else if you're used to it. I mean, it's like maybe I'm just so used to hard work that it doesn't even faze me anymore. I was at the barn last night really late, and because in the wintertime you've got more work because of the snow. And so, it sounds like you have more in the summer, but it's just a different season. It's just more difficult to do the things that you normally do, So I don't know. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but season wise, but it's just what you do, if people understood how easy it was to grow microgreens and the fact that this is one of the healthiest things you could do, they would probably be shocked. You get the little trays from Amazon or something like that, and you can actually grow it on the silicone mats instead of having like the coconut core as a base. It's a lot cleaner that way. Actually, it's a lot cleaner just to use the I've done it both ways, but to do it with the silicone mats, pretty easy. Buy them once, throw them in your dishwasher when you harvest it, and start them again. And all you got to do is remember to buy really big, fat, good seeds, because it's you got to think about seeds the same way you would chicken eggs. If a seed is nice and big instead of the little puny cheap ones, are going to need to have fertilizer. They're going to need to have more nutrition put into them because they're not self-contained. Well, the way God makes them, if they're a nice, big, mature seed, that seed has got everything in it needs to actually germinate and grow. And like a chicken egg sustains the chick for 21 to 28 days. So you look at what you're putting in, and it makes it easy. But that's really something important, is to think about and a little baby steps at a time. Nobody needs to go running a marathon.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. We do it little steps at a time. We always do it that way.
You should see how much of like my diet is very dependent on seeds. I eat seeds and I eat lots of them. And that's one of those things that has so much nutrition in it if you get that figured out, the super seeds. And I actually make these little pucks, and it's got peanut butter in it, some natural peanut butter and all that sort of thing. And then I throw some honey in it, and that'll keep me going. I could literally survive on these things if I had to, just by eating like 3 of them a day. And it's full nutrition. But anyhow, sorry, got off on a rabbit trail there. That's what we do.
Yeah. And getting back to executive orders. Executive orders have no power and effect on the public. But we the people, if we the people back in COVID time told Whitmer that we're not, number one, we're not closing our businesses. Number two, we're not standing.
Well, I did.
Number two, well, a lot of people did because of the fear, because of the nonsense that was being taught.
Yeah, I'm like, we're not closing, and I'm not paying attention to the rules because the rules are absurd.
Yes. But there are a lot of people that did. A lot of businesses that closed down. A lot of businesses that lost and went out of business because of COVID.
Sure did, because they shifted it all to BlackRock, Vanguard, ownership, the big box stores. That's exactly what they did. They put out, we the people out of business.
That's right. But because people bought into what the executive order was. Yes, it's going to have to be challenged. Somewhere along the line, someone's going to get pinched by the government. But that's the time that you challenge it. But how do you challenge it if you don't know the law? If you don't know what your rights are, if you don't know what the government can do and can't do, who they are and what their responsibility is to protect our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and that's all their job is. And to know that they cannot do and issue orders on the public for any reason, They can't come out and say that you have to take a vaccine. They have no authority to do that. And as long as there are people that are fighting back, and sometimes the fights are long battles because there's only 1 or 2 of us standing, and sometimes the battles are short because there's a lot of us standing. But we need a lot of us that understand what the laws are and what the government can do by using these executive orders. Now, if you look at President Trump's executive orders, what's he executive ordering about? Number one, build a wall. He can do that. That's an executive order. That's fairly legal. Does it affect you? Not directly, mostly indirectly, because you stop the immigration of illegal aliens from coming into our country. But it is an executive order that is lawful because he is erecting a wall to protect. And if you go into the Constitution, that's the job of the federal government, to protect the country from an invasion. So you can make a very good argument for why that executive order is a legal order, but it doesn't affect me. I'm not building the wall. I don't have to do anything specifically to get the wall up. So it doesn't affect me. What's another executive order that was passed?
Well, I'm pulling up the list here of just so we can talk. President Trump signed a total of 220 executive orders from January 2017 to January 2021. As of now, 71 of these orders have been revoked, many by his successor, Joe the Fraud Biden. There, I said it.
Wow.
I hope I pissed everybody off with that. That's good.
Read one of the executive orders. What's one of the other executive orders?
Well, my favorite, I had the guy that was behind writing the executive orders, because a president has different people that do different things, and he's like, "What's your favorite executive order?" He asked me that, and it was let's see, it's the one about human trafficking. Here we go. We got all kinds of things.
Well, there's another executive order, human trafficking. Well, number one, that covers a whole gamut of arguments. That's the gamut of of illegal aliens coming into our country. That's another one about illegally trafficking human beings. But does that affect me and you? Not specifically.
No.
So when I say an executive order can be used within his own department, yeah, I agree with you. Executive orders can be used within the, if he wants to change the tablecloth in the White House, he writes an executive order, change it from Thanksgiving to Christmas. He can do that. Change the silverware, change this, change that. Fire somebody in his department. If he needs to write an executive order to fire a department or close a department down, he can do that because that's within his own department, but it doesn't affect you and it doesn't affect me.
Yeah. So here's a question. So all of the departments that we were talking about have been created by an act.
Most of them have, yes.
Okay.
And therefore they don't exist.
And what's the process for the president revoking them? Just we're done, fire them, close it down?
Yeah, fire them and close them down. You don't.
So we don't need an executive order. We could do it through an executive order, but we just close her down.
You want to make it, if he wants to make it look like it's important and whatever, he can do that. But remember, the unconstitutional act is not a law. So that department creates no department. So it's an unconstitutional act. An unconstitutional act is the DOJ, which was an act, not in the Constitution. CIA, FBI. FBI was originally supposed to be for going after criminals that cross state lines. Now they do all kinds of things, and they collect intel on the public, and they do a whole lot of illegal stuff. FBI could be closed down tomorrow. Number one, because number one, they're not doing their function, which is what they were originally designed to do. EPA, same thing. EPA started doing regulations. They don't have any authority to do regulations. They can provide information to the president, who then can go ahead and push Congress into writing a law to do something. But the executive order cannot be used on the public, nor can the EPA or DOJ or any of those departments be used against the public, because there is no constitutional authority for them to even exist. But we, the people, have to understand that. Norton is a very, very strong case. Norton versus Shelby County is a very, very strong case. It spells it out exactly how the republic's supposed to operate.
And we can be thankful to Judge Cannon for re-quoting that again in the recent case with President Trump. I mean, that got re-quoted was kind of miraculous.
But she didn't go far enough, and maybe she did under the cover of darkness. But she didn't go far enough by saying, not only Jack Smith's department doesn't exist, but the entire DOJ doesn't exist. And you can't have an organization that doesn't exist with a bunch of people that really don't exist because they have no constitutional authority to exist. She didn't go far enough. She could have really cleaned house with her one statement, but maybe she was, maybe they said you're going far enough and you don't go any further than that. I don't know. We don't know what happened behind the scenes in her chambers. Maybe she did feel that this isn't the time for it. And like our group, Magnificent Republic has been pushing Norton and trying to get it into the hands of the public functionaries. They know it exists. They know what it's all about. They want to ignore it, thinking that, if we ignore it long enough, it'll go away. But more than that, they are afraid that most of their departments would go away. And they don't want that. They don't want to lose their job. Everybody's worried about security. I got retirement coming. I got one more year to go, and whatever. And so they're playing this game that we don't really want that to come out at this point in time. And maybe Trump knows all about it and is going to use it, but it's not quite time yet. We're in a
I think
war.
there's a lot of timing and strategy behind all of this. I really, really do. Hey, I just got a text in from Denise. Love the new resolution for the 2020 election. Wowzers. Thank you. So I started writing resolutions for the U.S. Taxpayers Party, which is the Constitution Party, which I am the vice chair of. And we had 5 of them. We passed 5 of them. And I sent them out to every single public functionary from Governor Whitmer down to every township clerk in the state of Michigan, including legislature. And so the last one, I sent one out yesterday. And what the plan is that we're going to try to write like this is on the plan, because I'm also the chairman of the members or the communications committee, as well as several other functions. And we're going to try to write like 100 resolutions this year. And all of our resolutions are a little different because we have, we put actionable steps in them. So I started writing them and then developed a committee and had a committee go over them and put their ideas in and such. And they ended up being pretty good. Denise was on that, was part of that, which was wonderful. The input was, you were there on that.
Yes.
So Denise really liked the latest one I sent. I'll be sending out another one today. I'm going to resend. I think I'm going to send them out and resend them. They're also going to the fake news people out there, which shame on them because they're not showing any of this. But here, I'm going to ask for some input. I would like to have some ideas from people about things that we could write resolutions on that are actionable, which we can hold them to. Not just like, oh, I would like to see this. No, it's like, let's stick to things that are actionable that we want changed. Because I think that kind of functions as a notice too. We can use them as notices.
I think what we really, really need to do is, and I don't know if you have one at this point, resolution, but a resolution to if you do not follow your oath of office, you are committing treason, something to that nature, and push that forward and drive that oath of office into their face every single day you talk about it, because they are violating their oath of office just because they don't even know what the Constitution is and what their authority is.
Okay, so give me another one. So treason for not following the oath of office. Let's come up with a bunch of them right now. Oh, David said that you should run for attorney general. Seriously, right? She should have gotten in as governor, because then I wouldn't have run. I was asked to run, and it's like people keep asking me, well, don't you want to be governor? I'm like, are you out of your mind? It's like, no. I'm like, I agreed to do the job, but anybody that wants a position probably should never have one, because it's like anybody that runs for office in the taxpayers party, nobody really necessarily wants it. They're agreeing to do it because they know it's a job that needs to be done. But I've never seen a fight for any office out there. We don't fight for offices. We just like people sit back and go, please, dear God, don't nominate me. So that would UST needs to revamp the platform and upgrade the website. I agree with that. We're working on the website, David, and it's been a task because the infrastructure was so bad, and that when the infrastructure was so bad, but we have been working through it, and it's actually going in a good direction. But I'm looking for some resolutions, so people post and let me know. You got any other ones? I've got a list, quite a huge list. One on human trafficking. In environmental and health regulations that usurp citizens' rights. That's another one we need to go after.
Well, the problem with
foreign purchase of land using corporations as a straw man for veiled foreign entity. Need to
if you follow the Constitution, the state government has no authority to own property.
What was that?
If you follow the Constitution, the state government has no authority to own property.
Well, they've done it through the DNR.
Well, I understand what they do, but they're not following their oath of office.
Well, this is
Federal
exactly
government, same thing.
right. Well, this is like foreign purchase of land using a corporation for veiled. So that's, foreign entities like China
Well, that's
owning our land.
Public-private partnership. That's the Nazism that they're trying to bring into the country.
I think we should get rid of the NGOs.
Well, they are a creation again. They're unconstitutional. They don't exist really. And if we go back to your oath of office, Governor, you can't make an agreement with a private corporation because you don't have that authority to do that. And therefore you are violating your oath of office, and therefore you are committing treason against the country. That's where it needs to come down to. These organizations that they have perpetuated throughout the country, throughout the state of Michigan, bring in Nestle in to suck up the water out of one of the Great Lakes and ship it off to China. That is an illegal act. And that whoever started that, and I believe it was started with John
Engler.
I believe he's the one that brought that on board. I may be wrong. It might come after that. When Schneider violated his law with the Flint water crisis, that was a violation of right to protect our life, liberty, and property. He didn't protect the property. He violated his oath of office. He should be in jail. He shouldn't be retired with state-funded money. He should be in jail. He's not alone. We can go down the list and pick on all the governors, including the one that became Granholm. She did a lot of violating of things. Not long ago, I heard that they were shipping toxic waste, radioactive waste into Michigan. That governor, which is Whitmer, should be in jail for that. Not protecting our life, liberty, and property, violating the oath of office, their oath of office, which is what their only purpose in life that they have is to protect our life, liberty, and property, and she didn't do that. And therefore, she should be in jail for it. This is how we need to be looking at it, and not giving them a pass or not saying they're overreaching. They're usurping authority never granted.
They're stealing. They're thieves.
Yes, they are. Yes,
and you know what? A really good governor or somebody who knew what the heck they were doing could make this state work for we the people. And people have no idea what that would even look like because they're not thinking in that direction. The state could actually work for we the people because right now we have got this thing so far out of whack that we can not only can we protect the life, liberty, and property, we can actually be helpful in a very good way that not the way it's working right now. And I don't think anybody could actually envision it working in the way that it could work. And that's, and I understand getting out of the way, but there's also at this point in time, we are so screwed with the humanitarian crisis we have going on right now. I think if we gave the state back exactly to we the people, look at how many kids are in the foster care system. What are you going to do? Just pull the plug? Can't do that. And so there's lives. What are you going to do if you end like day one? If you end things like the adult the adult care facilities and such. Say, well, we're just going to cut all ties with this and stop this. You can't in a humanitarian way. You could never do that. It would be a huge problem. We're going to have to back out of it. But to say we cut it all in day one, I think that's leaving people in a lurch. Who would that? Half the state doesn't even know how to balance a checkbook, and you know what I mean, and or actually hold a job, a real job. We've got such an abysmal amount of non-education that's happened that the state is unprepared. The people are unprepared for if all of this stuff was instantly gone. In my opinion, I don't think I think it would be one of the most tragic situations in the history. It'd be like throwing a whole bunch of little kids out in a jungle and say there, figure it out. Some of people could do it, but the amount of people that are on public assistance that have jobs within the government that don't even show up for work. They just go in and maybe they show up for 2 days and they sit there playing games or something like that, or they don't even show up, which shame on them. They should go to jail for that. But you know what I mean? There's such a dependency on the system that we're going to have to back out of it. And it's going to have to be a very, very well-crafted plan to get people back to work. I really like the CCC and what the CCC was all about in the 40s. To get people back to work that way. And it was temporary, and you could structure that in such an amazing way to give people incentives to branch out a little bit and use their own creativity in the way that God gifted them to really create a beautiful system that would work, and launch it and go, there you go, now fly. The repair work has been done. So but that's
well, most of the problems that we have faced in Michigan has been due to regulations, government regulations, government control, and it's the government that has created the problems
by stupid people that couldn't run an ant farm. They just take orders. The regulation, right. Yeah. So anyhow. Didn't mean to stop you dead in your tracks there. Go ahead.
Well, my argument was that originally Michigan was one of the strongest economies in the entire United States because of the auto industry. We were making money hand over fist, and we had mega power in America. The problem was that the people involved in the federal government and so on and so forth didn't want Michigan to be as strong as it was. And so they created these regulations and so on and so forth, and created problems, monster corporations that could control the smaller people trying to come on board, like Tucker, who developed the car. And they basically destroyed him. The big government destroyed him. It wasn't the auto industries that destroyed him. It was the regulations and the government that destroyed him. And we had seen this go on and on and on in the state of Michigan to destroy a thriving economy to a very weak economy.
Yeah, well, and look at how the insurance agencies, which is Whitmer and her dad and her cadre of miserable people around her, where they used the insurance agencies to actually regulate or affect what we have going on here. So like you can't get a license on a car, which they shouldn't be able to license that anyway, but you can't get a car design approved unless it can be licensed, right? So now that becomes a gatekeeper to innovation. And so that's a huge problem.
I hear a knock at my back door. I'm going to go find out what it is. So I got to take a break.
Okay, come on back with a song here in a minute. Yeah. But I don't know if people understand how that works with the insurance agencies, and so like say like somebody that is coming up with a commercial car design, they're going to have to go through all this regulatory nonsense, including being able to have their vehicles certified to be on the road. That's none of their business. It really isn't. And then not only that, if you can't get insurance on a vehicle, and the reason why I know this is because of some knowledge into antique cars and what it takes to get an antique car registered as an antique car, and that whole process, and getting insurance on it, who can insure it, who's willing to insure it, who's not. We've got a huge problem with insurance for motorcycles. You want to bring up a hot topic, that's one of them right there. I went to the Outlaws in Detroit when I was campaigning, and there was, I don't remember how many different biker clubs that were there, a lot of them. I love these people. It was amazing. We had such a nice time and such really incredibly productive discussions. And there were several attorneys that were present there. And I just love these guys. I thought they were amazing. And if we could get them voting to, really voting together as a group, I think that we would see a lot of this nonsense done away with, because they're not going to put up with it. And so anyhow, salute to the biker clubs out there. I think you guys are amazing. And honestly, all of the insurance that they've tried to steal money from the bikers and regulate them into an oblivion, which it's none of their business. It really isn't. We just need to hands off this stuff, and it needs to be hands off. If you decide to do certain hobbies or things like riding horses, which is a savagely risky hobby. It really is. You're taking that on all by yourself. That's exactly what I've done. I'm taking this on as something I enjoy doing. Is it risky? Yeah, there's a little risk involved in it. You've got a half-ton animal that's got a mind that doesn't necessarily think the same way you do. And so things can happen that are unpredictable, and but it's a risk that I'm willing to take because I enjoy it. And it's like, you mitigate the risk the more expertise you have in anything, but there's always risk. Life is not without risk. Risk is everywhere. Everything we do, there's a risk. And we just have to be willing to say, okay, I'm not willing to take this risk, so then don't participate. If you're willing to take the risk, then go ahead, knock yourself out, have a great time. Nobody should say a thing about it. And it's your choice to do that. And it's mine,
Sorry, that was a landscaper coming to tell me about putting some dirt in my greenhouse.
Do you have a picture of your greenhouse?
Say again?
Do you have a picture of your greenhouse?
I'll get one. I don't have one.
Is it a hoop greenhouse, or how'd you make it?
I bought the pieces from a company. It comes in a package, and it was like a big erector set.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
12 by 16.
What's the company? Okay, now you got me excited because this is stuff.
I bought it through Wayfair. I don't know the name of the company that off the top of my head that makes the item, but okay. I'll shoot you a picture of it. It's a nice greenhouse.
Oh yeah, let me see.
But I raised it up on a 4x6 platform, not a platform, but 4x6s, so it was sitting on something, not on the ground.
Yeah, you got to do that.
And then now I've got to raise the dirt level up to the 4x6.
Oh man, they got really nice looking greenhouses. Look at this. That's
they
cool.
got some nice greenhouses.
Hang on a minute. Let's just take a look at this. Look at this guy right here.
Keep going. Maybe you'll find mine in there.
Well, let's see. See what we got here. Hang on a minute.
Could be in AmeriLife. I don't remember now.
Well, I don't know. It's got all kinds of nonsense coming up. All right, let's take a look at your greenhouse here. We've got.
Yeah. Go scroll a little further.
Down or up? This way?
Yeah. Right? No, the other way. Sorry. I keep going a little further. Right there. Stop to the left. The Victorian style.
Did you get that? That is really cool.
Looks like that.
Oh man, that's neat.
However, mine is 16 by 12, and this one's a smaller one. This one's 11. I think it's 15 by 11, or.
Are you going to use it for like hanging out outside in it, or are you using it for?
Well, right now the chickens are in there.
Oh, you got the chickens in there.
I got their house inside the greenhouse so they don't freeze to death in the nasty cold. And I'm going to actually start growing stuff inside it once I get the grade. There you go. Wait a minute. The other way. No, that's not it. Go up a little further.
It's going to pop up here in about a minute. I just got to keep scrolling. This
Yeah.
is actually
Anyway.
a really good time to start thinking about what you're going to do in the spring for food and
Yeah.
sort of thing.
I'm getting geared up for I'm going to probably do a straw bale garden inside the greenhouse eventually once it's done.
Yeah.
That 1400 one right there, 14 by 9. It's that house, but it's bigger.
Well, let's see if we can
Exactly that house, but it's bigger.
See what they got here. Maybe they got other ones close to this. That's really nice.
Yeah, it is a nice house.
And you've got chickens in there right now.
I got the chicken coop inside. They love it because I turn them loose in there. And actually, a couple days ago, I decided to put straw around the perimeter to keep the cold air from going out. Well, then when I went back in at the end of the day, they kicked all the straw away all over the floor of the greenhouse. So I had to tuck it all back under. There it is. That's the house right there.
That's cool. Very cool. Congratulations on your new greenhouse. That's awesome.
Works out nice.
I used to see I've been putting potatoes up like nobody's business.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Because I can't even tell you how many potatoes we got out of the garden, like a lot. They go crazy when you plant potatoes, and you don't put them in too deep. That's a mistake a lot of people make, is they plant them too deep. Mm-hmm. You want to plant them near the top, and then as they grow, they kind of like bubble up, and you just want to keep throwing dirt on them. Yeah, when they turn green, then they're not good for eating, but those are good for seed potatoes. So the ones at the top we use for seed potatoes for next year. And you got to be careful, because if you get potatoes like in the store, they spray them with something called, I think it's no bud. And what it does is it stops them from actually sprouting. So you have to either get organic potatoes or actually seed potatoes that haven't been sprayed to inhibit the sprouting of the potatoes. And think about that. That's kind of concerning that we're eating this stuff.
That's right. Yep. We're eating that stuff.
Yeah. Sounds awful.
Well, in my particular case, I planted them inside the straw, pushed them down into the straw, and at the end of the season, busted the straw, and there it was. Potatoes were all over the place.
I got a book somewhere about straw bale gardening. I've got a couple of books on it, and let's see if I've got one here next to me.
I like it because it's 18 inches off the ground approximately, so you don't have to always get down on your knees or bend down. And
yeah, you just have it's more like a
chair from a chair, which is much more comfortable.
Yeah, I don't think I have one right sitting here next to me. So I just ruined a stack of books. Let's see if I can salvage that. Hang on a minute. All right. There we go. No, don't have it here. It's got to be up in the bookshelf over there. Okay. Well, yeah, straw bale gardening is, if you don't have dirt, that's a great way to do it, is get a straw bale. They're about $5 a bale at most of the tractor stores. You can get them, and then you can hollow out the top just a little bit, put a little dirt in it, and or just grow your plants right in straw bale if you take it out of container.
What I do is I just put dirt on top of the straw bale and grow it into the dirt, and it grows into the straw. So it does its own. Once you season the straw bale over the season, for about a week, putting fertilizer water every other day, whatever. And a week later, it becomes the fertile area for the growth of whatever you're trying to grow in it. And then you don't have to fertilize it anymore the rest of the year. And it holds moisture, so you don't have to, if you miss a day of watering, you're okay. So it's got some good benefits to it. Plus the fact that it's very easy to grow that way than try to cultivate your ground with a rototiller and do all of that nonsense.
And you can compost it when you're done with it.
Yep. Works
pretty good. So lots and lots of ways of doing it. Well, that's cool. Well, I'm just going to be obsessed about your greenhouse. That's awesome.
I'll shoot a couple pictures, especially when they get the dirt up around it, that looks a little more presentable. Right now, it's still in the raw, so.
Yeah, that's going to be really pretty. That's really pretty. Nice way to do an inexpensive 3-season greenhouse, actually, too, if you want to have an extra outside, not using it for farm stuff, but if you wanted to add an outside room, that's just beautiful.
Well, yeah, I'm not quite sure it's warm enough in there. I've been in there a few times, but it is like 10 degrees. Seems like it's about 10 degrees. And of course, you're not getting the wind.
Yeah, you're not getting to get the wind. And if you put like a little fireplace in there, one of the propane fireplaces, man, you can sit in there snug as a bug in the winter.
Well, I did buy a electric heater, and it's hanging from the ceiling because I figured if it really gets cold, don't want to freeze the birds. I guess the cones freeze on the birds if it gets nasty.
You can freeze their feet too. And so if they walk outside, especially if you have like Brahmas and they walk outside, that sort of thing, because they have feathers all over their feet, and they'll get in the snow, and all of a sudden they'll have snowballs around their feet, and that doesn't work well for them because they can literally freeze their feet off too.
Well, that's not good.
No, it's not. It's pretty pathetic looking if you've ever seen it.
My birds don't want to go outside when it's too cold. They stay in the greenhouse.
Yeah, I would guess. They've got John's Country Palace there. The John's Poultry Palace out there in a greenhouse.
You're funny.
That's funny. So yeah, so we've got another idea. Okay, so NGOs, they should be defunded. House bill. Denise, you're amazing. I'm gonna screenshot this and add you to my list. NGOs, they should be defunded. House Bill 6134 will be heard today, and that is another Second Amendment assault that's attempting to take arms from citizens that aren't tried for a crime. This is another thing, is that when we're watching all of the picks that are being made in the appointments, see where their stand is, because I've got a suspicion that a lot of them, like Pam Bondi, are anti-Second Amendment people. And so watch that to see if I'm right on this, because I'm thinking that we're going to need to do a little bit of work here to hold them accountable to the Constitution if they get in. Another idea for resolution.
She's against the Second Amendment, she'll be fired. So I'm not concerned about that. I think Trump will kick her out.
Another idea for resolutions might be to go through the ridiculous bills being created in our legislation. Gives a magnifying view of how our politicians are wasting our time. That's a great idea, Denise. Charlotte, yes, now they're going after pretty color of guns, abortion they love, and gender mutilations. It's not the guns, it's the Democrats, sick mind. Charlotte, we need a House bill if they don't work in their office and they don't get paid. Ooh, I like that one a lot too. Denise, just think we're inundated with guidelines, ordinances, treaties, regulations, rules that confuse, overregulate, and destroy our freedoms and liberties. Bam! That's it right there. So interesting. Hang on a second. I'm going to see where my next guest is here. There we go. So yeah, all of those things need to be gone through. Live news, real news for real people, by real people at the kitchen table. So there we go. Let me give let's see, I'm gonna call a second. Anything else you want to talk about right now, Mr. Tater?
No, not specifically, because anything we want to get involved in is going to take time. One of these days, I'd like to talk about the general statute or status of war. And so we want to kind of go down the list of the war, history of the wars and how they started and why they started. And if anybody has not seen the movie, which is probably still on YouTube, called All Wars Are Bankers' Wars, needs to take a look at that, because that, in fact, is what this is all about. It's about the industrial war complex making money on the death of the public and to keep the population down, and so on and so forth. All Wars Are Bankers' Wars. It's a very, very good video to watch if you haven't seen it.
It's really good.
Yes. And so maybe next week we can talk about the war business in general, because it is the biggest industry in the world is the industry of war. And who ends up suffering is the public in more than one way. Not only do we suffer by having to go out in the field and getting killed and maybe psychologically disoriented, but we go out but we lose our rights, because every single war they have taken more and more rights away from us, more and more freedoms, and we have given them up. We just say, we don't say, no, you can't do that. We allow it to happen because we think these people that are in charge are our leaders, but they really are representatives. We've got it backwards, but we really need to straighten it out. I think it's going to take the public to become aware of what's going on and why it's going on. And I remember the 60s and the 70s, how much public uproar there was over the war of Vietnam. Whether you were a soldier fighting in the war itself, or whether you were in the public fighting against the soldier that was fighting in the war of Vietnam, it was a tremendous time of public upheaval. And if we would have been able to carry it on, we would have probably have no more wars. But we allowed it to. It went away. The whole fight, the whole argument of once the war was over, everything else was, all fine and dandy. Soldiers were treated pretty nasty during the Vietnam War. And now today they honor the soldiers. It's just the crazy world we live in.
I'm looking for the movie here. Hang on a minute, because somebody asked for the link. So keep going, please, sir.
All wars are bankers' wars.
Yeah, I'm just looking for it so I can post it.
I think if you go on to YouTube, at least I used to be able to, you type in all wars are bankers' wars and it'll come up. You don't really need a link. Yeah. Or if you type it in the search bar up above, all wars are bankers' wars, it might bring you to several different places where you can watch it.
I've actually posted this on my channel. So this is, we'll start watching here just a minute and see what happens.
Now, I want to share a story with you, and this is actually an article that I wrote over the weekend called All Wars Are Bankers' Wars. And I went in, I did a lot of research. It's posted to the front page of whatreallyhappened.com. I understand it's already gone viral. It's being reposted around the web. But I wanted to basically tell it to you here on the radio show. And it's a very long story. We're probably going to take the rest of the hour to do it. But it's something that you need to understand, that all of these wars and assassinations that we're told are crazed lone nut assassins or weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, that's a commentary. Hang on a minute. That's not how it starts out.
Yeah, I don't remember it starting out that way either.
Nope, it's not. Let's see. Let's see if this one. Archived by Michael Rivero. There we go.
Now I want to share a story with you, and this is
the same guy.
Yeah, same guy. He's monetizing it. All right, Mr. Smart Guy. I think maybe. I don't remember this part of it.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
No, he's a monetizer. Let me see if I can find it here. We'll find a link, because I actually have it on my Telegram channel, but I posted it a very long time ago.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can search here. And actually, it's easier for me to get it on Telegram.
So now, as we're facing World War III with Joey sending long-range missiles to Russia, and now nuclear, he's thinking, nuclear weapons to not Russia, but Ukraine, and telling Zelensky to fire on Russia. And of course, you don't hear that. All you hear is that Russia's firing missiles on Ukraine. You don't hear that the Ukrainians have started this, not the Ukrainians, Zelensky. When I call a country, I don't mean it's the people in the country. They don't want the war. It's politicians. It's the puppets that want the war. and they're the ones that are pushing for war. Zelensky may not even be in Ukraine.
He's in Miami, last I heard.
Yeah, there you go.
Last I heard, he's hanging out in Miami.
He's fighting the war from Miami, but he's putting the Ukrainian public in peril by shooting, by saying fire missiles on Russia. And now the latest rumor is that he will, how do they put it? If he joins, if he allows NATO to join, if he allows Ukraine to join the NATO, or Ukraine joins the NATO group, then he will give certain freedoms or whatever, or certain sanctions to the and I have to find out what that was. It was brought up today earlier by X22. He's just adding into the system, adding into the problem to create the war. Did you find it?
I think this is it.
Whole version. That might be it. That might be it.
Yeah, let's see.
Hey there, YouTube. This is Chris for the Handigard channel.
Yeah, they're all like
the video you're about to watch is entitled "All Wars Are Bankers' Wars" by Michael Rivero. This is based on a radio show he did. The video was done by Zane Henry and originally posted on the whatreallyhappened.com website. It moves pretty quickly and covers a lot of ground. So if you want to fact check anything, be prepared to pause and open a search.
Okay, so another one that's monetizing it. This is like annoying. What really happened? Let me see what's going on.
Yeah, it's not the one either. You know, I have it on disc here somewhere.
Here we go. Let's see if we can find it. Now I'm on a mission.
Huh.
Now I know I'm really on a mission here. So let's see what we've got. Whatreallyhappened.com. Says it's new. Oh my gosh. Oh man, this has got all kinds of good stuff on it. Let's see what this is. I might have to check this out. Hang on one second. Talk amongst yourself for a minute.
Talk amongst yourself. Yeah. We are in the industrial war complex era, and even though Eisenhower I lost a lot of respect for Eisenhower after World War II and how he treated the German soldiers, because he was not nice to the German soldiers. He put them in a fenced-in area, didn't provide shelter, didn't provide proper food and clothing for them to survive the winter, the harsh winters in Germany, as well as the summers. He was not a nice general at the end. Yeah, we fought a war. Yeah, the Germans were nasty and they fought a war as soldiers, but those rank and file soldiers that were in the field that took orders shouldn't have been treated the way they were treated. You want to treat Hitler that way, go ahead. You want to treat the upper echelon that way, go ahead. But when you are a soldier in the field and you're following orders, you should not be abused as Eisenhower abused the Germans. It was just not a good situation. But he did leave us that comment at the end of his departure that we should be aware of the industrial war complex. And yes, we should. And the industrial war complex is the biggest money-making industry in the entire world, not just the United States. And if you consider that for every missile that they blow up, they got to build a new one. For every bomb and every bullet that they fire, you got to build a new one. This is a self-perpetuating process that the government is in bed with.
Well, this is interesting. So this is All Wars Are Bankers' Wars. This was what was written with a video was based on that. This is a new thing for me. Check this out.
Wow.
So all the documentation are here, including the links. So that's pretty interesting. I didn't find it before because I've seen the video. So now we're going to click that. That's a PDF version of the article. And here's the video. Let's see what they have. Because they're giving you, this is the direct source. This is what we do, boys and girls, to find out what's going on. All right, let's see who this one is. Sorry, I had to follow this one through. No, it is that. It's kind of crazy.
I open my big mouth, huh?
Yeah,
I want to share a story with you,
go.
and this is actually an article that I wrote over the weekend called "All Wars Are Bankers' Wars." And I went in, I did a lot of research. It's posted to the front page of whatreallyhappened.com. I
wanted to jump that ahead of
around the web. But I wanted to basically tell it to you here on the radio show. And it's a very long story.
What's that?
Why don't you jump it ahead?
Yeah,
like
working on
quarter
it.
way
We're
through.
probably going to take the rest of the hour.
Changes.
A lot of people are going to have difficulty comprehending this. Just how many of these wars we have fought as a nation were fought for no other purpose than to force private central banks onto nations that did not want them. So we're going to have a few examples so you understand why at this particular time in history the United States government is government-issued currencies and conduct business only using printed banknotes borrowed at interest from the Bank of England. If you go back to the writings of Ben Franklin, direct quote, the refusal of King George III to allow the colonies to operate an honest money system which freed the ordinary man from the clutches of the money manipulators was probably the prime
look like
cause
the original one that I saw, but
now our public schools don't.
Yeah, it's not the one that I saw either.
You're not supposed to know that the bankers were really behind the American Revolution. After the Revolution, the United States adopted a revolution.
Not that it's because the one that I watched is about 2.5, 3 hours long.
Yeah, yeah.
So this isn't it, guys. So boys and girls will have to go back to scratch on this and try to figure this one out. However, let's see. We've got homeowners insurance actually charges people for trampolines having specific breeds of dogs. It's so outrageous that even HOAs tell us what we can and can't do to our own home. HOAs are unconstitutional.
HOAs don't exist.
Those should absolutely be abolished.
That's
because
right.
It started out with the condominium associations where you don't own the land. That's where they came from. And then they extended it to houses. They have no teeth. If somebody wanted to fight that one, that'd be a great one to reverse. So yeah. I'll put that on my list. So keep going, guys. I'm going to keep adding.
You know, I gotta unfortunately say goodbye.
Okay, I'm hoping that he comes on. He was right there just a minute ago.
After, and I gotta be in another place by 11.
Let me see if I can get him on a minute, and we'll see what we can do. Okay. So, yep. And so, what else do you have to say right now? And we'll see if we get Sheriff Mike on.
Well, we're going to be in on the Zoom tonight. Not tonight. Wednesday night. On Zoom at 7 to 9. Go to our website, magnificentrepublic.com. It'll tell you how to connect with us and follow along and learn some new things about the law and about your rights, which if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. And learn about it the right way, not by authority, not by some of this stuff that's on the internet that these people come up with these nice narratives without authority. We have the authority because the law is on our side. So go to Magnificent Republic, check it out, and come and join us on Wednesday nights. And the following Wednesday, which is the 11th, we will be at Nicola's again for a face-to-face, kind of a Christmas face-to-face and celebration and all that stuff.
And what day is that?
That'll be Wednesday also. That'll be the 11th, December 11th. And that'll be 5 to 9. And we'll show up at Nicola's and we'll have dinner and then we'll have a meeting and so on and so forth. It'll be a fun time. That's more of a social gathering. When we're on Zoom, we're trying to concentrate on learning, concentrate on what the law is. And right now we're reading Downs versus Bidwell. And if you haven't read the dissenting opinion of Downs versus Bidwell, you should join us because it's got a lot of power in it that we the people need to know about.
Okay, so we got the title wrong. It's Everything is a Rich Man's Trick.
Well, that's a good one too. Yeah,
that's the one that I was thinking of.
Oh, that's the one you're thinking of.
That's the one that I was thinking of. That's a really good that's a great. So both ways to go is good, and a great way to get educated on what's actually happened.
Yep.
So yep. So there you go. So that sounds like fun on the 11th.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. All right, boys and girls, we're going to go and take a quick break right now. And thanks for being on today, John. You're amazing. We need to continue on this discussion on what we need to do for resolution. So stay with us. But anyhow, I'll be on in just a minute with former Sheriff Mike Ingersoll. And so we'll be right back. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the third day of December 2024, and welcome to our show. We're going to jump right in with former Sheriff Mike Ingersoll. How are you today?
I am well. How's yourself?
Doing just great. So
I was just a reserve sheriff deputy. I was never the sheriff. I did run for the office and did not get it, but you never know what the future holds.
You never know. Well, that's great. Thanks for the clarification. So and you're well today. The winter was kind of set into us here in Michigan substantially. So it's a little cold outside and snowy. How is it where you are?
Well, it's cold. And we got some fog and stuff, but it's not snow precipitation as of now, but we're just in the early beginnings ourselves.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, what are we going to talk about today, Mike?
Well, one of the things is the corruption amongst a lot of the small counties and everything else throughout the whole United States is what I'm hearing. And I do have a video out. I put it out about 4 years ago. And what happened is I was falsely accused. I was a reserve deputy, and I was falsely accused by a fellow deputy for being someplace, somewhere, sometime that I was never there. And he's no longer with it once our investigation and everything else was gone. I had to hire a private investigator. I had to do this. I had to do that. But the only thing that I was wanting to do is just get my money back for everything that it cost me. And come to find out, this deputy was a convicted felon. He was a felon. And he was the sheriff at the time, his ex-son-in-law. Yeah, I know, it's shock and awe. But the thing is once the commissioners, everybody got together and they did the right deed and fired the person, one of the things the commissioners did, you talk about a crazy scenario. Once you're fired, you're fired. No. They rehired him to work at our county dump. So he would continue getting his, points for retirement and stuff and everything else.
Oh, they're all out to protect each other. It's incredible. What is the name of your documentary, Mike?
It's not really a documentary. I can send you my video.
Can you, I'm just wondering is it online anywhere?
I'd have to get with Casey Whalen, who made the video and stuff, and see where we would go.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, let me see if I can find it, but tell everybody exactly what happened, like the details of what happened.
Well, my wife and I, we living on the ranch, and we were building phase 2 of our birthing barn for our cows. And I had torn my bicep and rotator cuff at work and was out on a medical. I tore it in January and that year, and was waiting on surgery and stuff. And I'd had surgery, and was out there. I couldn't do anything. Lift, push, or pull 5 and 10 pounds. So I couldn't do anything. We were dependent upon some of our friends, and they came that morning, and we were all out there building the part. And I looked down the road, and here comes the sheriff's deputy. 2 deputy vehicles. I'm like, wonder what's going on. So he drove up the driveway, and he said, you still got your badge and jacket? And I said, yeah. He says, I need to get them. I said, what? He said, I need them. I said, okay. So I walked over to my truck and gave him my badge, which I had. And he said, where's your jacket? And I said, well, I don't have my jacket. I said, it caught on fire. My wife had a catastrophic turbo failure in my truck, pulling 6 cow calves and a yearling to the river where we were going to pick them up, and it burned up. And I said, all my sheriff's stuff was in the back seat of it, and the whole truck was engulfed in flames. I mean, it was gone. And I told him, I said, but I'll look in the house. He followed me in my house. I didn't ask him to follow me in my house, but he followed me in my house, and I didn't have the jacket, but I did have one extra badge that sheriff gave me, one for my truck and one to put on my uniform. He took my uniform shirts, and I'm like, what? I said, what's going on? And he says, well, you have been, we've got numerous complaints about you being on Four Corners, harassing people and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I've been nowhere. I said, I've been to therapy, to the hospital, to the doctor's office, and back to the hospital for surgery and stuff. I said, I've been nowhere. So he said, excuse me. About that time, my wife walked in, and she said, I said, listen to this. And he told her the story again. And he says he's been nowhere. He's been nowhere at all, just to the doctor and everywhere else. So he says, well, you're going with me. I said, what? He said, you're going with me. So he arrested me right by my fireplace over here.
What was his terms? Why did he say he was arresting you?
Because he allegedly said that him and Game and Fish have numerous complaints about me harassing hunters, which is untrue. So anyway, I took all the stuff out of my pocket, my phone, and gave it to the wife and everything, and off we went. My neighbors, the people that were helping us, are in shock and awe. They're like, oh my God. And his other deputy that he brought with him read me my rights. His name's Pulley. So, and the deputy who arrested me is Brandon Van Adder. He is Dave Resser's ex-son-in-law. So off we go. We get to 600 and stuff and go through the formality, getting booked and all that stuff. So while we're standing in the booking, I looked at the paperwork and stuff, and I told the booking guy, I say, dude, it says location on there. He put Four Corners. I was not at Four Corners. I was in my driveway at my house. He said, well, I got to put what he's going to put in the report. I said, well, just to let you know, because we're on audio and video, that I was never there. I was in my driveway. So I got booked, and Mary's due diligence. We knew the sheriff and everything, Dave Resser. He was on vacation when all this goes down. And he's out on elk hunting over in Montana. Mary got hold of him, and he called her back, and she says, hey, they got the wrong guy. I told him what happened, and he said, I'll make a call. So he calls over there, and they said that they'd pick me up, and stuff. And he says, Mike does not go down to Four Corners. Mike does not go down there. So he called him back and told him, says, you release Mike. So I got released, and the deputy had to take me home. And on the way home, I don't know if he had his audio or video on in the car, but he says, I must have really got the wrong person. And I'm like, you think? And he's like, I guess I better do a little better investigation. So we left it at that. He dropped me off in my driveway. I was about 45 minutes from St. Mary's. And everybody was asking me, what the heck happened? And I told them, I said, hey, they got the wrong person. I said, they're looking for somebody else, but I did my due diligence, and I did call my investigation and stuff, and I called an attorney, and I got all this stuff, and I told Dave Resser, I called him, and I said, listen, when you get back in town off your vacation, I want all the information in regards to me. I said, I want the statement. I want everything. And he says, well, I'll be back. And when I do, I'll bring it to you. And he did. He was a man of his word. But the thing is his undersheriff at the time is Anthony Eels. He's the one who's the sheriff now. But while the cat's away, the mice will play. He had something to do with it himself, because he should have just said, hey, you have the wrong person. There was no evidence against me whatsoever. It was just word of mouth. And they tried to, get me thrown into it some way or another. And that was never the thing. But anyway, when Dave Resser got back, he brought me a lot of the stuff and everything. And he sat right here at my kitchen table and lied to my face. And I told Mary, I said, before he got here, I said, you want to put your phone on and do an audio or video, just sound or whatever. So we caught him in a lie there. The person allegedly who did the report of calling it in, who he in fact was harassed. He was harassed. And by two people, not me, because Brandon, when he came in to talk to me at my the initial part, he said, who's your 300-pound friend? I said, I don't have a 300-pound friend. He says, well, you've got one. I said, I do not have one. Well, anyway, that did in fact happen. He did have a 300-pound friend. He was a deputy at the time, a level 2. I was a level 1, which I had the same as a regular deputy. So with all that down and everything else, he lied to my face. He told me that he was going to file for giving a false report. The man who allegedly had this happen to him, he was going to get him for filing a false police report. This did in fact happen to him. So anyway, after we got the report and everything else, I got with the attorney and stuff, and it was a few months later, the attorney calls me and says, we got an offer. I said, we do? He says, yeah. I said, $5,000. I said, what? No. I said, you're not understanding the big picture. It's not about the money. It's about bringing this to light to where people can see. So he left it at that. And then, I don't know, it was a couple months or a month or so or whatever later, he calls me back and says, hey, they're offering $10,000.
Oh, they want to shut you up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Trying to buy off your silence.
So I told my attorney, I said, listen, you need to get the big picture in your head too. It's not about the money. I want this exposed. So we were scheduled to go in federal court. So I don't know what the length of time was between them all, but we did end up in mediation. But that was a clown show. We go in there. I've never been, unbeknownst to us or anything else, but I thought the attorney was on top of it and everything. But I did have to, before I went to the mediation, after I got the $10,000 offer, the attorney gave me a name of a private investigator, and he is great. If anybody ever wants one that is great, let me know, because I tell you what, this man, he's the one that uncovered the deputy being a convicted felon that was quashed. And post peace officer standards and training, he applied for them 3 times in Idaho, 3 times. And he was denied twice. So Dave Resser and the rest of the corruption went before the judge and had it quashed. Then they resubmitted his application to post, and he passed. He got accepted. I'm like, seriously? 2 times you kicked him out, knowing that he's a convicted felon. The 3rd time you accept him. Seriously? You gotta be kidding me. It's the same guy. And you accepted him and let him become one. So anyway, Ted uncovered that. That was my private investigator's name. So we sent this off to all the evidence, information, and everything else that we had. We sent it off to a man who does nothing but this, goes through all the evidence and everything else, and then, through the court case, and before it goes to court, he does a synopsis of it. He dissects it, and I could have made between $500,000 and $1 million as a settlement, but we went to mediation. I did not settle for that much. It was never about the money. All I wanted to be is paid back for the time that the attorney had in it, and the investigation, Ted Pulver, everybody that had it. That's all I wanted to be taken care of. And that's all I really got. So it was never about the money. And to this day, they still pull their antics on different people. I cannot tell you, since this happened to me, I cannot tell you how many people have contacted me with evidence, information, and stuff against the department. And they just keep on.
Targeting? Are they specifically targeting people? And was there a reason for them to target you that, like, is a thread that runs underneath this? Or is it incompetence? Or is it just what is really going on there?
I'd really like to put my finger on it. I think a lot of it is they're on some kind of a power trip. Just because they're a deputy,
Yeah, they get a badge on and they think they can stomp around and throw their weight around instead of assisting people. And if somebody needs to have something brought against them, then they act. But you don't just stomp around like a little Gestapo. And
that's what they do.
I've seen it firsthand. So I know what you're talking about. The straw hat bureaucrats at the local level really think they're all that in a bag of chips. And I've had a ton of targeting here in Byron Township from our township. Alleged things that they just throw papers at, and this, that, and the other thing. They hit a tax bill. They've done all kinds of things. They've accused me of things with no proof whatsoever. And this seems to be the MO of this little Gestapo nonsense that's on in the small towns and in the big cities too. It's completely out of control. And after a while, you have to sit there and look at them and go, who is paying you to terrorize the residents? because I got to believe that they're being paid or they're part of a network. I really do.
I'd like to find out. I'd like to get into it, and just figure it all out. But the thing is you got to start somewhere. And me having that happen to me is totally not right. And I know it's been happening to other people because they've been contacting me. And one of the reasons why they do this to people is the fact that the county's not really, really rich. You know, a lot of these people spent their life savings and everything to come and to enjoy their land and stuff and do everything. So they know their pocketbooks are thin. And yet, you know, they do this to people. The people are the ones that you're supposed to serve and protect. And when you're not doing that, you know, you're just falsely accusing them and stuff, and they don't have the money to fight.
Right. There's way too much power there. And they're not held accountable when there's false allegations. There's all sorts of things. They're just running, you know, rampant and rogue over everyone. And I think that all of us are seeing that now, which the great thing is actually seeing what's going on. And what I'm actually becoming more aware of is going in proprio persona, which is pro se, and fighting it on a level where you represent yourself, because the attorneys are part of it, the judges are part of it. There's a whole network of people, and I just don't have a whole lot of faith that there's a whole lot of them that are actually doing the right thing. Excuse me. I think they're all placed puppets at this point in time, or the majority of them are.
Well, one of the things I would really, really like to do is help these people. I've seen the evidence, information, I've seen it all, but I need an attorney, some attorneys that will do it pro bono. That's why I'm reaching out, is to get some attorneys that will do this pro bono. And the evidence and information and everything else is there. It's just, we need an attorney to do it pro bono, because these people do not have the money to fight. They don't have the money for legal assistance. They don't have the money for a private investigator. They don't have anything. And their resources are limited, but they have a case. And once you start exposing this, and these attorneys will step up and take the ball down the road, I tell you what, they're going to expose it, and we'll just get to the bottom of it. You have to start at the local levels and get after it.
Yeah, I agree. So there's a whole bunch of people out there that are fighting cases pro se, and they're actually winning. If you figure out the process for that, you don't need an attorney. You cut the attorneys out, which are only really, it's a private membership organization, and they're only out there to make money for themselves. And so once you cut that out of the equation, it becomes a much easier and doable thing. But people have to be educated on the process. And it's a little intimidating when you start out, but it's something that really seems to have some teeth to it. I had Troy Smocks on this week, and he sued the federal government for $2.5 billion, and he's winning. There's people that are winning all over the United States, but you have to become... a person has to become an expert on the process, and you make some mistakes along the way. However, it's kind of a doable thing right now in the climate that we're in. People are getting educated on these processes so that we can step back into the republic instead of what they've turned the judicial system into, which is a clown show. It's a disgrace to this nation. And I hope that the majority of them realize how much they're actually breaking the law, and that this whole system's got to be retooled because of the victimization of the American population. It's terrible.
What was the name of that organization?
Well, it's fighting. It's not an organization. It's taking your power back as an individual and fighting pro se, or in proprio persona. That's
Okay.
That's more common term. Where you write your own case, they give you a little bit of leeway. The judicial system has to give you a little bit of preference, but it's something that you can do, and it doesn't cost that much to file, as long as you know what you have. And there's other people out there that can help you if you want to do it that way. And you cut the attorneys out, because right now the attorneys are working for the judges. The whole system is corrupt. In Michigan, we have a 98% of the cases end in a money judgment. And the only reason why they're only prosecuting or trying those with the money judgment is because they take 18% and they put it in their retirement accounts. This is how stacked this system is. But you can work around the outside of this and kind of get it figured out. On Tuesdays, the guy that was before you, John Tater, we've been going after this for a couple of years on educating people on fighting in a lawful format pro se. And there's a lot of other people out there that probably could do really well to help coach you or help you on the ground where you are. I'm assuming that there are people out there.
I would like to know who they are.
Yeah, I think so. So here we go. If there's anybody out there in Idaho or somewhere close to that, reach out, because we really need to put together a network of us who have some expertise in it. Not that we're experts in it. I'm not saying that. We're just regular people that have either written cases and filed them, or have actually had success in it. And there's attorneys that will help you in that too. Pro se, jury proprio, in proprio persona, depends on your area what terms they use. So it's pretty interesting, actually.
That it sounds like it is. How would I get them to contact me?
Well, let's you and I talk offline about this, and I can start.
Point me in the right direction.
Well, yeah, we can start, but the burden lays upon a person who's actually fighting in that area. You can't just call an attorney up and say what's going on, because I just had an attorney set me up this week, and this is somebody. It's an older lawsuit that I have going on, because I've been suing everybody since I got illegally removed from the ballot as governor for Michigan.
Oh, that's another one. That's another one I have here just recently this year.
Yeah,
here just recently.
So they're going to keep off anyone who is honest. And I've often said that I think that if I run again, the tagline for me is going to be "too honest to win." It's like, and just shove it in their faces, because the reality of it. But anyhow, let me read to you what I wrote this morning on, and it was, I employed AI for part of this, but then I put my own description in on some of this too. Okay, so just hang on. Pro se and in proprio persona are terms used in the legal system to describe individuals who represent themselves in court without the assistance of an attorney. And here's how they relate and differ. Pro se definition is, it's a Latin term meaning for oneself or on one's own behalf. It's used to describe someone who is acting as their own attorney in a legal proceeding. The term is widely recognized in U.S. courts, both federal and state, and it applies to criminal and civil cases where individuals choose or are compelled to represent themselves. Implications. The Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees the right to self-representation in criminal cases, as affirmed in the Supreme Court case Ferretta versus California. Pro se litigants are expected to follow the same rules and procedures as evidence as attorneys, which can be daunting without legal training, but it's doable. In proprio persona is also a legal translation to in one's own proper person. It's essentially synonymous with pro se and refers to the self-representation in court. Pro per is a common abbreviation used in some jurisdictions. While pro se is more universally used across jurisdictions, in proprio persona or pro per might be more commonly used in specific states in courts. And in my experience in Michigan, in proprio persona is more commonly recognized. As one of my cases in the Attorney General's office, they responded as in proprio persona. So that means that's the terminology that they use there. Historical context. In In propria persona was used to signify that a person was appearing before a court in their own capacity, not through an attorney, especially in contexts where jurisdiction was challenged. Modern usage, today it's often used interchangeable with pro se, though some might argue for a nuance different for pro se implies acting in as one's attorney, while in propria persona might emphasize appearing personally rather than through a representative, which is probably what you want.
Mhm.
Okay. Similarities, both terms indicate self-representation in legal proceedings. They grant individuals the right to speak for themselves in courts and manage their case and interact directly. With the linguistic preference, the choice between the terms might be more about local legal tradition or court preference than substantive legal difference. Pro se is more widely used as a term across the United States, whereas pro per and in propria persona might be more of a regional context. Judicial context, the historical use for in propria persona in context like challenging court jurisdiction might not be as emphasized in contemporary practice as pro se is used broadly. So pro se is kind of like the common term. In summary, while there might be slight historical difference, most practical legal contexts, pro se, it's understood, and in propria persona or pro per are used interchangeably to describe self-representation in court. Both require individuals to handle the legal affairs without professional legal assistance, which can be both empowering and challenging. So that's that. There is your primer for that right now. And the crazy thing is this is what I posted this morning.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Good information and stuff there.
And there's lots of cases out there that we're going to be. I'm going to be writing more resolutions as the vice chair of the Constitution Party in Michigan. One of them that came up this morning is on their oath of office, which they violate when they step outside of their office. And so that came up in the hour before you were on.
Oh, see, I just tuned into the time that I was supposed to, that I know of. And you guys are 3 hours ahead of us.
Yeah,
I think so. It's just now going on 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
our
it's just
time.
11 here. So I start at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then we go through the morning. So there's lots of help out there. There are lots of cases that you can base this on what they did. First thing you need to do is write an affidavit for what happened to you.
Right.
And put all the facts in it with a timeline, the things that you can attest to. This is your testimony. And then you write a complaint. And then the complaint is got to be structured a specific way with a specific format, with a specific point size and such, and how you address these people. And then you can run with it. And I know in Michigan, it's about $125 to file your case. Then you have to do a subpoena, and you have to have that. They have to respond to your subpoena, that sort of thing, and that gets the ball rolling. So it's kind of interesting. I did it, and it was very intimidating the first time I did it, it was kind of crazy. I was like, okay, I don't even know which court to go to, to figure this thing out. It's a doable thing. And, it is doable, but you got to study, and you have to have enough people that you can say, well, how would you approach this? Like John Tater that was on before, he's one person that's on speed dial for me, but there's others that have done it and done it very effectively.
I would like to be in that loop to where I can advise these people on the proper way to start this and do this. If there's books or something, or a guide to go by that I can pass on.
Dave Here to Help is another one that does things with notices. So there's all sorts of people out there that have been doing this for a very long time. So I can set you, in contact and in contact with some of these people in the right direction. So maybe God answered your prayer this morning.
I hope he did. I mean, I've been praying and praying. How do I help these people? I mean, they have limited resources.
Yeah.
And
it needs to happen. It really needs to happen in a pro se capacity, because the courts and the attorneys are too corrupt. The attorneys are part of the bar, and the bar is a private membership club. It doesn't give them a license to practice law. And so, like in Michigan, we're allowed to have counsel, which is not an attorney, it's counsel, which is different. So you need to look up your Constitution and find out what that says about that for Idaho. And that's a good starting point. Find out what your Constitution says about counsel or attorneys.
One of the things that just happened here recently, it's been a little about it happened this year. One of the inmates, excuse me, one of the inmates was arrested, and they've been complaining to the deputies, the jail deputy, that he needs to see a doctor and needs to see a doctor. I do have a video. Casey Whalen did the video, and finally it boiled down to where he was carry-vac'd out of the jail. It's full of mold, and they just paint over it and stuff. The man has got 6 months to a year to live now.
This is more common than you would expect. I mean, the commonality here is that we saw that with our J6ers too. The J6ers, the same thing happened, that they were not getting medical care. They've been, in effect, poisoned in these jails or in these gulags, and it's because they privatized them. So now people become cattle for a quota, and that's exactly what's happening there.
Yeah, and our tax dollars are paying for it.
You bet it is. You bet it. So I'm going to go ahead and play this a minute. I don't know how long this is. Do you know how long this is?
My video?
Yeah, this one right here.
I cannot see it. Oh, that's my video. Yes. That's the one I explained. It's a little while. You're more than welcome to play it.
Let me see if I've got, okay, that link doesn't work there. Let me see what we got down here. Maybe this one.
Go ahead.
I think that one works. There it is.
My name is Mike Ingersoll, alias Cowboy. I was falsely accused by the Benewah County Sheriff's Department of being someplace where I was never at. Here's my story. Hi, Harley. What you doing? Hi, boys. How's everybody this morning? Huh? What are my monsters doing? That one's a smaller one. That one's a smaller one. These other four here are big. Not as big as some of these. I'll ask the wife which. What? I met Mary after my divorce, and when our kids graduated high school, we have 4 boys, 3 girls, and 14 grandbabies now. And when the kids all graduated high school, we looked at each other and said, time to live our dream. So Mary went online and found this place. It was just a field. Everything that is here we've built or had built. We had that built. That was the first building ever put here. And it's been uphill ever since. Okay, it was October 20th, 2019. I was sitting outside building phase 2 of my birthing barn with some friends when I observed 2 sheriff's deputy vehicles come down my driveway. I went over and shook Brandon Van Adder's hand and asked him what's going on. He says, do you still have your jacket? I was a reserve level 1 deputy. And I said, no. I said, I think it burned up in a vehicle that caught fire that we owned, that caught on fire on mile marker 13, Highway 5. He says, "Do you have your badge?" I said, "Yes, it's in the truck." So I walked over to the truck and handed him my badge. He there again asked me if I had the jacket.
Well, I'm going to post that later for people to watch on my Telegram.
Okay.
And so they can see what you've gone through. And I sure appreciate you being on here today, Mike. I think that all of us need to come together as Americans and to defend each other when our rights have been violated, especially when they're using things to target us, because there's no two ways about it. I have definitely been targeted by Byron Township. There's no two ways about it. Been accused of things that they had no proof on, and they came after me for it. And so I understand exactly what you're saying. This is more common than what people have. And if you raise your head up in these municipalities and such, these little straw hat, good for nothing bureaucrats who are taking orders from the communists above them, and I call them what they are. They're communists. They're part of the system. They want to be sitting at the table. They don't know their jobs. They don't care about their jobs, and they don't care about their citizens. And I know exactly how this works. We need to stand here to defend each other. So we'll be talking on this, and I'll post this on my Telegram channel, and then we'll be talking some more. So I'm really glad you came on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's quite a story, and there's lots more stories out there that need to be out.
Well, we need to get more people on. If you know people that need to be on and tell their story in that area, let's put a camera on them and give these people a little bit of heat that are actually doing this damage to people, because this is threat and coercion, and you are free. They may not threaten or coerce any American out there. They don't have the power. They're usurping their granted powers. It's like they don't have that. So let's say a prayer here a minute, and then we're going to go on to our day.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Mike and for John and all the brave people that are willing to step forward and do what we need to do to take this back. You are so awesome to us. You give us a way out of everything, and you walk us through troubles, and we're so very grateful for that. Anything that we have going on in our lives, you're here for us, and you lead us out. You give us the information we need, and you calm us when we're upset, and help us to know how to think logically, and really pick our way through, so that we don't just run off the cliff next to the path. We just stay on your path as you guide and you lead us through all things. Thank you so much for providing us everything today. Beautiful skies, the nice, beautiful world we live in, and especially the people around us and the great gifts that you've given them. Help bring more people forward who are willing to do the work with the gifts that you've given them, and wake people up a little bit more. They need to know, first and foremost, that we are here on assignment. This is not our world. This is your world. And we're here to serve you on that, on this place, or in this place, your children, the people here, and doing the work you would have us do. Thank you so much for loving us and walking us through us. Thank you for giving us your only begotten Son as our Savior, to make the path back to you, because we all went astray. Every single one of us went our own way, but with our path to come back to you is clear, and it's made for us, and we're thankful for that. We love you so very much. You've been a great friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the part of the show, boys and girls, that we go to, right? Go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I want to have a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, in cowboy boots, about this, and talk about how we can continue to take this nation back and actually be able to serve the people, not take advantage of them. This is very important. So to everyone that's out there, if you don't have a good example out there, be one. If you don't know how to do something, dive in and figure it out. We need more workers that are willing to step forward to defend each other, to stand together, so that you are not alone. We're not alone. Mike's not alone. We all stand together to defend each other's rights. We don't have to agree with each other. That's not part of the package. We are here to live the way God has ordained us to be here under, with our own unique gifts, our perspectives, doing things differently, but as he leads us forward into what he wants us to do. And no one has the right to tell you what to do, how to do it, and to usurp that relationship with God Almighty. So go out there and live the way that you know God wants you to live. Continue to walk to grow closer to him every single day. Make good choices. Look for opportunities to serve. And if people make fun of you, oh, well, it's a badge of honor. If they tell you you're doing the wrong thing and you know you're doing the right thing, believe that God's talking to you and follow him. Don't follow people. Don't have the fear of men. That's a problem. You have to leave that and walk closely to God in order to walk with him on this earth, and he will make all things possible. Anything that he calls you to do, he will equip you. You just have to listen. So have a wonderful day. I will be on tomorrow, and I don't remember who my guest is tomorrow. So, but I'll be on tomorrow again with starting out with Liberty Essentials and going into the second hour with another esteemed guest. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Stay on the line, Mike, and just hang on a second.
Okay.
I'll see you tomorrow.